Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at the Forensic Science Symposium. First, let me introduce my fellow presenters. Today, we'll be presenting on the role of forensic psychologists, focusing on self-awareness and gender equality in the field. So, forensic psychology is a field of expertise that combines the practice of psychology and the law within the justice system. Forensic psychologists are the experts who hold a specialized degree in forensic psychology, but most are licensed psychologists with philosophy doctorate or psychology doctorate. These professionals may work in various environments such as prisons, law firm, private institute, and police departments. Hence, their responsibilities vary depending on the settings. For instance, some may work as a trial consultant where they assist legal professionals in case preparation such as jury selection and witness preparation. To become a forensic psychologist, one typically needs a degree in psychology followed by a philosophy doctorate or psychology doctorate. Some jobs may require a specific license and experiences, so be sure to apply for it to increase your credibility.
Ethics and professionalism in forensic psychology involve following foundational psychological rules and specialized legal guidelines, staying fair and unbiased, and having the right skills to handle the challenging connection between mental health and the legal system. This means being responsible, honest, and careful to protect both individuals and the justice process. In foundational ethical frameworks, forensic psychologists must comply with their behavior following the American Psychological Association, APA Ethical Principles of Psychologists, and Code of Conduct. Then, there are specific rules they have to follow, like making sure they are competent to do the job and getting proper informed consent from the people involved. In addition to the APA Ethics Code, forensic psychologists refer to the APA Specialty Guidelines for Forensic Practice to improve the quality of forensic service, enhance practices, and encourage practitioners to respect the rights of those they serve. Professionalism is not just about knowing stuff. It is about having the right skills, following strict procedures, and being really clear about who one is and what one is doing. It also means taking care of oneself while doing this challenging work. In this context, competence and expertise are essential. Forensic psychologists need to make sure they understand exactly what the referral question is and that it fits within their area of knowledge. For instance, if the case involves complex or trauma dissociation, they must be confident they have the specialized skill to handle it. They also need to know the legal rules and professional standards that guide them because this work often happens in courtrooms. They have to respect the backgrounds and experience of everyone involved, especially when survivors of trauma come from diverse culture. This helps them avoid letting their biases affect how they interpret the stories. Furthermore, being professional means being super clear about their role and relationships. Forensic psychologists can wear different hats. Sometimes they evaluate individuals for the court, sometimes they provide scientific advice to lawyers, and the other times they help legal teams prepare without going to the court themselves. At the very start, they need to make sure everyone knows what to expect, including what service they will provide, who they are working for, how long it might take, and how fees work. They never agree to fees that depend on the outcome because that will mess with their objectivity. In this case, integrity is everything. It is critical for forensic psychologists to uphold their integrity by ensuring honesty and accuracy of their work. To ensure that their function is to deliver an unbiased assessment, not an advocacy report. which means standing firm when attorneys try to sway us to change or exclude parts of our reports to help their case. Our role is to provide impartial evaluation no matter the pressure. In short, ethics and professionalism in forensic psychology go hand in hand. Together, they guide forensic psychologists to do the best job possible, ensuring they serve others with integrity while also taking care of themselves in this challenging work.
There are several issues involving self-awareness in the forensic psychology career. Firstly, we need to know what self-awareness means. Self-awareness is the ability to tune into feelings, thoughts, and actions. Being self-aware also means being able to recognize how other people see you. People who are self-aware recognize their strengths and their challenges. Firstly, the self-awareness for every forensic psychologist has been tested. There are 20 board-certified forensic psychologists and was followed up by a mail survey of 351 forensic psychologists in this mixed method investigation of examining bias awareness and strategies used to debias forensic judgments. Evaluators perceive themselves as less vulnerable to bias than their colleagues, consistent with a phenomenon called the bias blind spot. Recurring situations that pose challenges for forensic clinicians include disliking or feeling sympathy for the defendant, disgust and anger toward the offense, limited cultural competency, pre-existing values, colleagues' influences, and protecting referral streams. All of the participants in the qualitative study emphasized introspection as the primary strategy for identifying potential biases. Introspection was similarly one of the highest rated strategies of the follow-up quantitative study with a much larger and more representative sample of forensic clinicians. Unfortunately, introspection is not a realistic strategy for debiasing success. Classic psychological science shows that people have little or no direct introspective access to higher order cognitive process. In fact, Brognin and Kaggle describe introspection as a cognitive illusion that actually functions as source of bias blind spot. When we work as a forensic psychologist, we will be exposed to trauma and high pressure environment which leads to difficulty with work and life balance. Maintaining a healthy work-life balance can be challenging for forensic psychologists, leading to psychological symptoms and affect their overall well-being, which can ultimately impact their contribution to the criminal justice system. The demanding nature of forensic psychologists often involves long hours, high-stress caseloads, and exposures to distressing cases. This can make it difficult for professionals to separate their work from their personal lives. However, there are still coping mechanisms to prevent it from happening. Establish healthy boundaries between personal and professional life. This can help in preventing burnout and emotional exhaustion. Self-care is important for every forensic psychologist who always experiences trauma exposure. Self-care practices such as regular exercise, mindfulness, and proper sleep are vital for maintaining mental and emotional well-being in this demanding field. Seeking regular supervision and peer support can provide valuable opportunities for professional development and processing the emotional impact of the work. In conclusion, self-awareness is a fundamental aspect of professionalism and forensic psychology. It enables practitioners to recognize their biases, regulate their emotion, and maintain ethical integrity in the practice. By balancing introspection with structured support systems and self-care, forensic psychologists can ensure that their judgments remain fair, objective, in the best interest of justice.
Without further delay, I'll proceed talking about gender equality in forensic psychology. Firstly, we need to understand what gender equality is. Gender equality refers to giving equal opportunities, respect and value to people regardless of their gender. In this forensic psychology field, this includes both professionals working in this field and the individuals or clients being studied, evaluated, or treated. Historically, men dominated the forensic psychology field, especially in leadership and expert witness roles. Today, more women are entering the field, from researchers to criminal profilers and expert witnesses. By statistically, in 1976, only 33% of new psychology doctorates were women, but by 2017, that number rose dramatically to 75%. However, gender inequality still exists. Female forensic psychologists sometimes face bias when giving testimony, where their expertise is questioned more than their male counterparts because women may appear less confident or more emotionally expressive than men.
This can affect how seriously their professionals' opinions are taken. It also extends beyond courtroom testimony, thus influencing advancement and professional credibility. Today, many things have improved, such as women regularly appearing as expert witnesses in criminal and civil cases, and also advanced to senior positions, such as leading forensic units, teaching at universities, and publishing influential research. Also, women still earn less on average, which is just 83 cents for every $1 earned by men in forensic psychologists. Next, gender inequalities also exist in understanding and assessing criminal behavior. For decades, crime theories only focus on studies of male offenders, and women seen as exception or their crimes were stereotyped as emotional, manipulative, or acting under male influence. This leads to biased assessment, unequal treatment, and misinterpretation of behavior. Risk assessment instruments, diagnostic criteria, and treatment were largely validated on male population. Thus, these tools fail to capture the unique psychological and social context that shape female offending and are less effective for evaluating women's violence. Male clients that show vulnerability or emotional distress also may be overlooked because of stereotypes that males should be stoicism, which appears strong and unemotional. Violence by males is normal because they may be motivated to protect their status, authority, or sign of anger, but violence by females is abnormal and pathological. Female offenders are usually misdiagnosed or overlooked because of female aggression is seen as evidence of mental illness or victimization. Even though research shows that women are more likely to experience abuse, this assumption can still lead to misunderstandings of their true motive and needs. However, forensic psychology now challenges these outdated stereotypes. It is understandable that both men and women commit crimes for their own complex reasons, either by psychological, social, or economic. Forensic psychology also has become more aware of gender difference and works toward a gender-responsive approach.
Now, we will proceed with suggestions to enhance ethics, professionalism, self-awareness, and gender equality within the role of forensic psychologists. In terms of ethics and professionalism, forensic psychologists are strictly required to comply with the ethical codes established by organizations such as the Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychology, MSCP, and the American Psychological Association, APA, specifically the Specialty Guidelines for Forensic Practice, which emphasize respecting the rights of those they serve. Forensic psychologists also need to utilize scientifically validated assessment tools such as Personality Assessment Inventory, PAI, and also avoiding unsupported opinions. Regarding self-awareness, forensic psychologists must develop a strong self-awareness of their own thoughts and feelings, employing mindfulness and self-examination to uncover hidden biases and recognize the influence of personal values on professional judgments. Moving on to gender equality, organizations must promote an inclusive culture that eliminates gender stereotypes, ensuring equal consideration for all employees based on their competencies rather than gender. Furthermore, forensic psychologists are required to employ gender-neutral language and ensure fair treatment for all individuals. They also need to acknowledge the potential differences in behavioral expression between genders to avoid bias in interpretation. Thus, these collective elements enable forensic psychologists to fulfill their duties with integrity, fairness, and respect.
So, to sum up, the role of forensic psychologists demands not only specialized expertise and adherence to strict ethical standards, but also a deep commitment to self-awareness and promoting gender equality. By upholding professionalism, addressing personal biases, and fostering inclusivity, forensic psychologists can contribute effectively and fairly to the justice system with integrity and respect for all individuals involved while maintaining their own well-being.